Hello, thank you for being in a new video. This time I have review of this one, which is the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro. Let's get started. This is one of the most recent tablets presented by Xiaomi and integrates several features that could place it in the high end, although still by the screen and perhaps some other little things we could not get to consider it a top of the range tablet, but it offers very good specifications at a price that is still not so far-fetched. At the time of recording this video on Mercado Libre, it is priced at 9,229 pesos. That's around $500. In fact, I think that's why the price is varying every day, but it's a considerably good price for the 8GB RAM and 256 storage version. And there is also an edition with 512GB of storage and 12GB of RAM at a price of 11,079 pesos at the time of recording this video. That's approximately $600, although remember that the prices here are not the same as over there, but having known the prices, join me to know everything it has to offer. We begin to physically describe this tablet, which is of large dimensions due to the large size it has on its screen. In addition, its construction is metallic, so it also gives a good feel to the touch. As you can notice, on the back it includes some pins through which you will be able to connect its special keyboard accessory, but it is not included in the purchase, so you have to purchase it separately. That I would like to see improved. It does not offer any level of water resistance or anything similar and is 6.26mm thick. On the left side, we will find two audio outputs along with the legend Dolby Atmos and also the on-off button, which is fingerprint reader. On the other side are two other audio outputs along with the USB-C port. At the top is placed a microphone. There is also an area where the stylus would be magnetically attached, but it is not included. And finally, there are the volume buttons along with another microphone. The tablet has a weight of 590 grams, so it can be transported comfortably, although obviously if you put a case and more will go up much more that weight, especially if you include the keyboard. And by the way, I forgot to tell you that this USB port is 3.2 Gen 1, offering a very good transfer speed. And while we are talking about connectivity, you should know that it supports Wi-Fi 7, so it can reach very high download speeds if your internet provider and your router allow it. In Bluetooth connectivity, we will also find the 5.3 version with good stability for your accessories. And it is very curious that it also has NFC, something that we usually do not see in tablets, but in this case it has a very particular function that I will tell you about when I talk a little bit about the ecosystem. This tablet also allows you to project the screen, both in an advanced way and in a simple way. That is, it can be a simple mirror type projection, or it can be a projection where you hide notifications, or you could have this screen turned off while the projection is being made. However, it doesn't have a desktop mode or anything like that to have even more advanced functionality when projecting the screen. However, in screen projection, it does not have a desktop mode to take advantage of that second monitor. Although using the Google Slides app, yes, you could project your screen by having the tablet in moderator view and the projection the presentation you're making. And note that it also includes a feature called wireless playback that allows you to use this tablet as an external monitor for Windows laptops. So on your Windows computer, just press the Windows key and then press the K key to bring up the list of monitors. Within this list, the Xiaomi tablet will appear, and watch how you simply need to authorize the connection. And that way you can take advantage of this large screen as an external monitor. It can become something very useful, complemented with your computer. In this case, it's in mirrored format, so you probably see that it doesn't get to take advantage of 100% of the screen. And in fact, in Windows, you can also enable a special permission so that you can use the touch interface of the tablet directly to the Windows computer. And obviously in Windows, you can also select that you want to extend the screen rather than duplicate it to finally take advantage of the two-monitor setup. Although in this case, it still doesn't take advantage of 100% of the screen space, but I think it's still a good thing. But it is very good that it does allow you to interact with the touch interface on this tablet. The screen is spectacular, as it's going to offer us a 12.4-inch size. It's a very large screen considering we're talking about a tablet, and its resolution is 3K, that is 3048 by 2032 pixels. It has a 3:2 ratio that is ideal for work. In the case of multimedia consumption, note that some stripes will appear above and below, so you don't get to take advantage of all the screen space. but you still have a good field of view and most apps will allow you to adjust the content. So I think it's fine, especially since I think the tablet is not only going to be used for watching movies or videos, but also for working. And the 3:2 ratio gives you a lot more space. Notice how, for example, you can split the screen in a very simple way and then open any other application and you have very good space. Unlike other tablets that come with a 16:9 ratio where you wouldn't have as much vertical space. So I like this design. By the way, the screen is going to offer us LCD technology, so it's not the most advanced in screens, but despite that, it's a considerably good screen in viewing angles. It won't have a spectacular view from the side, but honestly, it's not too far behind what an AMOLED screen would offer. Where it might fall short compared to AMOLED screens will be in contrast, but in viewing angles, I think it meets a good quality. In fact, also the colors are vivid enough, so I liked it. It is also a screen compatible with HDR content, so some areas could emit more brightness. This screen has a maximum peak of 900 nits, which is pretty good considering that tablets are generally intended for indoor use. In addition, it is going to offer us a refresh rate of 144 Hz, although it can vary from 30 to 144 to have good battery efficiency as well. And just like smartphones, it will integrate dark mode, sunlight mode. You can also select different color calibrations. Although the factory calibration works very well, the colors look of good quality, although you could also select a vivid setting to have more intensity in the colors if you want, or you can customize different aspects. It also has a reading mode which could help you quite a bit if you're studying at night or something. In fact, also note that you can switch to classic mode so that you can specifically customize the intensity of this filter, and it will even allow you to add texture to make it look more or less like paper. So it can also become very comfortable to read with this tablet. And it also has artificial intelligence tools in the purest style of televisions that allow you to increase the resolution of the content you are viewing to make it look more attractive, although this option is turned off by default. You can also improve colors and other details, but I insist, this type of options are turned off by default to not consume so much energy. You can also improve the dynamic range or even the movements that are displayed to make them look more fluid. In short, despite not being an AMOLED screen, it really does offer a good display quality. A moment ago, I told you that it has 2 audio outputs on each side, and in total, there are 6 speakers that are distributed in these audio outputs. So it gives us stereo sound and it will be of good quality. Generally in tablets, we're going to find a good experience, and this is no exception. It's a wide sound, good volume, and good quality. Let's listen to a small test, although it is not the same as listening to it live. The sound is absolutely spectacular. It's going to be better than any other computer you can find at this price. It has excellent presence of bass frequencies. It's a very good volume sound without distorting, so I loved it. Also, in software we will find good options. For example, Dolby Atmos is present, or also the Xiaomi sound setting. It also lets us access a graphic equalizer that has different presets and 10 bands to fully customize our sound experience, in addition to the surround sound option that can still give more amplitude to stereo audio. So, it is excellent in this aspect. I was already anticipating you that it has 2 microphones. Let's listen to a test.
Esta es una prueba de audio grabado con los micrófonos integrados de la Xiaomi Pad 6S Pro.
But I told you it had 2 microphones and it actually has 3. Another one is in the camera area, something that I personally find somewhat unnecessary on a tablet, but it never hurts. It's nice to see this option. When you record video, the audio will mostly be picked up by this microphone, plus it helps with noise cancellation. But since tablets aren't normally used as much for video recording, so I think it's a little overkill. Speaking of cameras, the front camera is centered in a horizontal orientation. We are going to find 32 megapixels on this sensor. The lens has f2.2 aperture, although it has fixed focus. Obviously, it is a camera intended for video calls and not selfies. So in this case, it gives you full HD video. Let's go through some tests. This would be the video quality that it can give us in a very well-lit scenario, in front of a window, and the styling, the arms as far away from me as possible. This would be the widest angle. I think in that sense it doesn't get to impress too much, but the image quality is good. Overall, compared to computers, this quality is much better, and this is how it would look in an indoor setting, even with a bit of backlighting. I find that it still retains excellent image quality. So just by having some additional lighting, the image is going to look very good. You're going to look good quality on video calls. And something that I found extremely curious about this tablet is that it includes an LED indicator to let you know when the front-facing camera is being used. Something I haven't seen on other tablets, I only used to see it on some laptops. And in the case of the rear cameras, we will find the main 50 megapixel camera with f1.8 aperture and autofocus. The fact of integrating a high-resolution sensor in a tablet seems to me again a bit excessive, considering that you are going to use it to scan documents generally. But hey, if you want to use a tablet to take photos, a high-resolution mode is available here. But the second camera is completely useless. It's a 2 megapixel depth camera with f2.4 aperture. That is, it's supposed to help you capture portraits, but I wouldn't recommend doing that from a tablet. In the camera interface, you will find, as I say, this 50 megapixel mode. Unnecessary from my point of view, but you could end up with extremely detailed pictures. I generally use tablet cameras only for scanning, and for that it fortunately has a document mode. Notice that it automatically detects the document and you can press the capture button. It will do the cropping and change the perspective. And it even allows us to apply some color optimizers to make it look like a much more professional scanner. Just wait for it to load a bit and see how applying these filters will make it look like a more advanced scanner. What it would lack would be the ability to add more sheets to the document, but the integrated scanner is very good. And by the way, the camera is also capable of scanning QR codes, although a very tiny button appears when it detects a code, so it could go unnoticed. But it does have the option. This tablet comes with HyperOS version 1.0.2, although we are not offered a clear update policy, curiously for this tablet, but it should receive several updates considering it is a high-end model from Xiaomi. So if I were you, if I were going to buy it, I would be confident that it would at least receive a couple of updates or so. And with this version of the system, we're really going to find some very nice features. For example, we're going to be able to have an application dock here very quickly. It doesn't always stay visible, but you can get it to show up just by doing this gesture. Then you have a quick shortcut to applications or also to recent applications. Although as they all count, you can't create folders within the dock, but you can add more apps. And there is a specific section dedicated to tablet functions. One of them is that the screen turns on automatically when it detects that you are looking at it. I don't consider it that useful, but there it is. In fact, the screen could also stay on while you're looking at it, and it has a floating windows feature which can be very useful since you can launch it directly from the app dock. Note that you simply drag the application to the center, or you could also directly open a split screen mode. So the software is very well optimized in this regard. And note that also in this case, you can move the windows to the other side and you can also resize them, although not the size itself, and even the aspect ratio as well. So they don't necessarily have to stay in a vertical format. That is a good thing. In this case, it will allow you to open up to 2 applications in this floating window format. And another way to open apps in a floating mode is to hold down on them, although YouTube doesn't support this mode, but it does support split screen mode. So if you combine split screen mode with floating windows, you could have up to 4 apps open at the same time, as long as the app is supported. But in this case, not all of them support this floating window mode. And notice how some apps might also get to interact with each other. You can drag and drop certain content, but not all applications are compatible. So in that sense, the experience will have to be improved. But at least the Google apps for the most part are going to work for you to just drag and drop images or text. So for example, Google's presentation app or document app could be very useful. But in this case, if you want to have a quick settings screen, you can enable a mode called Workplace, and notice that the interface will change completely. Your app dock still appears, but they appear with smaller icons. You also have the full menu of applications, but notice that in this case, when you open any application, they are not going to run in full screen, but in a windowed format. And in this case, it will allow us to open up to 4 applications in this same format. So, You could get to gain a little bit more productivity, and obviously you can move the windows to the position that you want, or you can also minimize them to some side. So Xiaomi has improved quite a bit with respect to the productivity that you can achieve with your tablet. It also includes a button to open the list of recent applications and a home button. And finally, if you want to exit this mode, you have to press the switch again. It also has an option called Conference Tools that could enable you a beauty mode and other tools when making video calls, although in this case it does not say in which applications it will be compatible. It also brings an option called Parallel Windows that will allow you to take advantage of the full space of your tablet, although in this case only Facebook is supported. Supposedly, this tool would allow you to open two sections of the application in split screen, but as you can see, it is not working well. And as other HyperOS options that are not exclusive to tablets, we would also have, for example, the customization of our lock screen, which as in smartphones, you can have in a magazine format, and you can switch between different lock screen styles quite easily. And note that in this case, we also have a sidebar, but it's focused on notes. So here you'll have quick tools to have snippets of images or text. You could also get to add some tasks or reminders, and you can access them very easily. And note that in this case, when you copy a link, immediately this section will add the excerpt so that you can access it later. Then you simply have to save it and you can consult it later offline. Note that inside the Notes application is all the information that the web page had, so it could become convenient as well. This tablet also debuts an application called My Canvases, which is focused on drawing, but in this case, unfortunately, we don't have the compatible stylus to take advantage of 100% of its functions. But notice how it has different brush styles, different colors. It even has a ruler that you can take advantage of, although it does not have an adjustment of different layers or something more advanced. But for simple drawings or strokes, it's fine. And remember that within the gallery, you may also be able to recognize text. Just hold down on the screen and you can extract that text in digital format from any photo that contains text. And the photo editor is also going to come with nice features. So we find an eraser where you can select the option to remove people and it will automatically detect it for you to do this action. You could also manually remove some object, or in this case a shadow that has been left, and the result will be positive anyway, although it does not do it with generative artificial intelligence. And if you choose several videos in the gallery, you can also open the creativity section where you have a video editor. Here you can select some templates so that the video has an automatic editing and you can create something very fast. Then, it can help you automate some edits, or you can also manually add text, music, and some basic edits. But notice how Xiaomi has also greatly improved its ecosystem features. If you have a Xiaomi device with HyperOS that has NFC, notice how you can simply bring the phone close to this area and that's it. It will initiate the connection so you can control the phone directly on the tablet. Notice that it takes a few seconds to make the connection, but finally you can even interact with the screen of your cell phone directly from the tablet, although the screen is on. But after a while the cell phone screen is turned off and you can continue to use this cell phone directly from the tablet. And notice how you can also slide this cell phone to the side and then show it again. And you could also transfer photos or videos from the cell phone gallery to the tablet gallery by simply dragging and dropping. Notice they will be sent through Mi Share and the performance is good, although to end the connection is a bit of a strange process because apparently you have to turn off the interconnectivity permission completely and then turn it back on. I think that could be improved. Note that you can also send items from your cell phone to the tablet via NFC and have a shared clipboard. So it's improved quite a bit in terms of the ecosystem. Also from the Xiaomi Notes app, notice that there will be an option to insert an image. And if you have your cell phone connected to your tablet, notice that a button appears to take picture directly with the cell phone. Just unlock your phone and open the camera and take the picture you want to insert. Then simply press if you approve the result and ready, it will be transferred directly and inserted into the Notes application. It is remarkable the improvement that Xiaomi has had with HyperOS in its ecosystem. And another surprising element of Xiaomi's ecosystem is inside the camera, as you notice that in more modes will be the director mode. This tablet can serve you simply as a monitor and you can use various Xiaomi smartphones as wireless cameras. So notice that I'm going to select the start option so that in this case it's a monitor. And here I have two Xiaomi cell phones with HyperOS, so I'm also going to open this director mode. Although as you notice, even within the same Xiaomi smartphones with HyperOS, not all of them have this option. But notice how in this case I'm going to select it to be a camera, and immediately this cell phone is being used as a wireless camera that you can monitor from the tablet. And you could also get to switch between multiple cameras selected. So Xiaomi is becoming more and more attractive in these ecosystem functions. Now let's talk briefly about security, because in this case, in addition to the traditional pattern or pin, we're going to be able to use a fingerprint reader that's inside the power button. In this case, you can register up to 5 different fingerprints, although it doesn't bring some other shortcuts or gestures on it. You can also have face unlock only in 2 dimensions, so it's not as secure as the fingerprint reader, but it's available in case you want to use it. There's also automatic unlocking via Bluetooth devices, but it can't be an automatic unlock by your location. And as additional functions in security, we will also find the option to lock applications, the second space option, and the option to hide applications. In addition to that, within the file manager, we can slide down to access the private folder. The battery is 10,000 milliamps, and doing my performance test, let's say it performs similar to 5,000 milliamp batteries in smartphones, only in this case it is a much larger screen. So running the battery drainer in the foreground, it gave roughly 4 hours with 50 minutes. While running the drainer in the background while watching YouTube videos in the foreground, it reached 5 hours and 34 minutes. So it seems to manage in a good way the power being consumed by the apps running in the background. We could say that the battery does come to meet a good autonomy, but still, if you want to have even more battery, you can activate the economizer. And curiously, in this case, there is no high performance mode available. Note that the charger is quite large and indeed a bit heavy. In this case, I have a European charger, but it should arrive adapted to your region. The charger has a power of 120 watts and offers us a USB-A connector. Using this charger, I did a test, and in 15 minutes it reached 31% after being completely discharged. In 30 minutes it reached 66%, and the full charge was completed in 49 minutes. So it does get to charge very fast. So fast charging is an element that does get attention, and in terms of battery protection features, it's going to include optimized charging. So in case you leave it charging for a long time, it's also going to charge slower. Even this tablet is capable of reverse charging, although obviously with very little power. For the performance test, in this case, I prefer to use the web browser because the applications are sometimes not so well adapted, especially social applications like Facebook, so they will look much better through the browser, which in this case is Google Chrome. Obviously, for them to look like that, you need to have the option to display the pages as the computer site, so that option comes by default, which is highly recommended. Notice how I can have many browser tabs open. They are all behaving well. In this case, it has 8 GB of RAM, which seems to be enough to maintain good performance with all these tabs open. But in addition to that, I'm going to open the Facebook app. We're also going to open other applications so that you can see for yourself more or less what the experience is. Remember that in this case, it has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. And the remarkable thing here is that the RAM is LPDDR5X and the storage is UFS. So yes, it's going to offer us very good speed in several components, although as you realize, the system still looks like it needs to be refined. There are some transitions that don't look as nice or as smooth, but still the device is maintaining good performance. Notice that in the recent apps list, we have several items open, and if we go back to the browser, this is still running. We still have, although here we've just seen a few web page restarts, but overall we're going to appreciate that these 8 GB of RAM are well managed. But if you're interested in benchmarks, in this case in Antutu it reached 1,584,363 points in a test I did a moment ago. So as I say, it gets to have very good power. We're also going to test how long it takes to export a clip with a total duration of 1 minute in 4K with videos shot using this tablet exclusively. And that's it. It finished in 24 seconds, showing that it has very good power. And finally, let's go to the games, because we were already talking about it has very good power and also brings this game Turbo Suite, but then it's called Game Space. Here you have the compilation of games that you have installed. You see the consumption and the current state of your device, and you can also adjust some performance things in case you want to give special emphasis to energy saving, or in case you prefer a maximum power setting, you also have it available. And when running a game space also on this side, from this suite you can free up memory, free up internal storage, optimize various things with a single tap, and also enable features like Do Not Disturb, enable screen recording or screen capture, and even modify your voice or add some floating timers on screen. So it can become useful in some scenarios. In Call of Duty, this device by default gives the graphics quality very high at a maximum rate of frames per second. However, we could also go up to the ultra rate, although the graphic quality drops to a medium level. But having the very high graphic quality and the maximum rate, notice that all the additional effects are also available to have more advanced graphics, and even in this case, if you can use them all at the same time, plus the experimental functions that would also allow you a better visualization of effects. So with this maximum rate setting, the experience we could say is perfect, completely worthy of a high-end device. So the gameplay is going to be exaggeratedly good. Obviously, being a large device, the touch controls could become a little uncomfortable over time. But remember that several games are compatible with gamepads. So in this case, we played with an Xbox gamepad connected, and the experience was really very good. Although obviously with gamepad you can have a little bit more latency than you would have with touch controls, so you have to consider it, but either way you can still have a very good gaming experience. With the ultra rate also the experience was very good. There's not much to say about it because it does go with a smooth experience that reaches 90 frames per second, so it also gets to somehow take advantage of the screen with a high refresh rate. So the graphics are not as advanced with this mode, but if you get to have a sufficiently fluid game and the temperature remains very stable, especially because in this case it is a large tablet and therefore has a lot of space to cool compared to what we would have on a cell phone. And in the game The Legends, by default, it is in automatic quality, but we went up to ultra quality at 60 frames per second. And in this case, it's curious that from the beginning of the game, it was going at 144 frames per second to take advantage of the maximum refresh rate of the screen. That's something we hadn't seen before, although it's also something a little bit forced because after a while it started to get a little bit more locked. So after a brief moment it went down to 60 frames per second, and from there it was 100% stable. That's 100% of the game, so no complaints to Xiaomi. The truth of the matter is that the experience playing this content will also be very good, with advanced graphics, with a lot of fluidity, and with a temperature that still remains considerably low. In the case of SpongeBob, by default, it comes with the low resolution and high quality. Interestingly enough, but in this case, we obviously went up to epic resolution, epic quality, and 60 frames per second with smoothing enabled, and again, the experience was really very good. This game usually gives some problems on other devices, but in this case, it has a pretty powerful processor that allows to run this game without any problem. In fact, the stability was very good. There are very few fluctuations when you are playing, so it is an excellent experience to play. Remember that this content can also be run with a gamepad, so if you are looking for some large device to play on the go, it could turn out to be a good experience. It can really give you a very good quality, and if you combine it with the large screen and the tremendous speakers that it incorporates, the experience just keeps getting better and better. Lastly, in Genshin Impact, by default, we have the medium graphics quality, but for this test we obviously turned it up to very high quality. We also modified several different parameters and enabled 60 frames per second. And again, it was a supreme experience. In fact, in this case, the stability was exaggeratedly high. It was just a little bit of a low spike when starting some animation, but still, the experience, I insist, is really very good. So if you have a gamepad, I think it would be a very recommendable device. If you don't have a gamepad, consider buying one and take into account the price that it could have because the experience is going to be very good. But obviously, being a tablet, it can be a bit uncomfortable to be playing simply with the touch controls. That's why I insist on this aspect. But the performance and power that this device achieves is really very good. You can play very smoothly this type of content and even without getting too hot. And with this, we have come to the end of this video. This is a very attractive tablet that shows an important evolution in the Xiaomi ecosystem and offers a lot of power. I hope you liked this video. If you did, you know you can tell us about it, and we'll see you next time.